Kira and welcome to another weekly vlog. This week I'm very excited to finally be taking a book off my TBR that has been on there for far too long, and that book is Where the Crawdads Sing by Delia Owens. Now I picked up this book in April as soon as the bookshops reopened on the 12th of April here in England. I was very excited to get my hands on this book because a lot of you have talked about it, said that it's really great. I've heard such good things about it, and it's also been like tagged for a movie adaptation that is going to be starring an actress who I absolutely love, Daisy Edgar Jones, who starred in the adaptation of Sally Rooney's Normal People and just did such an incredible job of bringing the character of Marianne to life. So all of those factors combined meant that I was very excited to pick this book up in April. But you might be wondering, Kira, you bought this book in April and you're very excited about it, but it's now June. Why haven't you read it yet? And the answer to that is partially I don't know, and partially that I think there's just something within my psyche that means that when I'm so excited about a book and just feel so much anticipation, I want to kind of prolong that sensation of excitement. And I don't know if that's weird, but I just think the feeling of being really excited about a book and thinking that it may end up being a favourite of yours isn't something that happens all that often. And so when I get my hands on a book that I think might be a future favourite and that I'm just like buzzing with excitement about, I kind of want to prolong and just enjoy that feeling of anticipation for a little while longer before actually reading the book. So I think 2 months is quite long enough to have ruminated on my excitement for this read. So this week I'm finally going to be reading Where the Crawdads Sing, and I cannot wait to see what it is all about because it sounds super interesting. So Where the Crawdads Sing is on the agenda for this week and I cannot wait. But before we get into all of the wonderful reading, I wanted to let you know that today's video has been very kindly sponsored by Ana Luisa. Ana Luisa is an incredible and sustainable jewellery brand based in New York, and I have been admiring their pieces for quite some time now. I first came across them on social media and was just completely in awe, first of all, of just how beautiful all of the designs were and just like in love with how they looked, but second of all, I was just so impressed by the sheer range that they had. I feel like there is such a diverse collection of jewellery pieces on Ana Luisa's website that you can really find something for every look, every style, every vibe that you might be going for. They just have something for everyone, which I absolutely love. Personally, I am an earring person and I just love how earrings have the capacity to totally change a look. You can go for something really bold and striking or something more delicate and subtle, and I just think that earrings have the capacity to totally change your outfit and your face, which is always nice because it means that you can go for something that just really takes a look to the next level and just adds a little something extra to whatever vibe you're trying to create. I'm currently wearing the Celeste Huggy Hoops, which are a moon and star design, and as you can probably tell from my mug, I absolutely love all things to do with the moon. And I think the moon is so wonderful, so to bring that to life in the form of an earring is a vibe that I'm definitely on board with. The Celeste Huggy Hoops are really, really gorgeous. I love a delicate but really like beautiful and sparkly earrings. So these are a little hoop that is just quite delicate. They're not too in your face, which means that they're great for everyday wear, and they just add a little something extra to the look that I just think is so beautiful. As well as just producing beautiful pieces of jewellery, the packaging that you get your pieces in is also really lovely. You come with like little bags that you can then keep the jewellery in, which helps to protect it, and these are pieces that if you take care of them, keep them stored away really nicely and just look after them really well, they can last you a lifetime, which I just think is so wonderful, because when you find a piece that you absolutely love, it's nice to know that you can then keep it in your little jewellery collection for as long as you want to. So along with the Celeste hoops, I also picked up two other things. I ended up getting the Oshi earrings, which are another star design I think is just absolutely gorgeous. Another sparkly and delicate design. And then I also went for something a little bit bolder. I was slightly pulled in by the name of this design, and it is the Dobby earrings. They are a little green dangly piece and I just think they're so cute. Now the name did pull me in because of Dobby the house elf, but the design itself was enough to make me want to get those earrings earrings because I just think they're so beautiful, and those are a little bolder than I would maybe normally go for, being that they're like a brighter pendant, but I just think that is something that could totally transform a look, which I absolutely love. So like I said, Ana Luisa has jewellery to suit absolutely everyone, and their price is just as flexible as the range of designs that you'll find. Their jewellery starts at as little as $39, going all the way up to some higher end pieces, which means that you can find something to suit your style and to suit your budget as well. So if you're wanting to treat yourself or find something that you want to give to someone else as a beautiful gift, Ana Luisa is the place to find your sustainable jewellery, because they are a carbon neutral jewellery brand, which I just think is wonderful, meaning you can make yourself look fabulous and know that you are sort of protecting the environment in the process as well. Now, if like me you are obsessed with Ana Luisa and you want to try them out, you can actually click the link in my bio and use the code KiraFoster10 for 10% off your purchase, which means you can treat yourself a little bit extra as well. So thank you so much to Ana Luisa for sponsoring today's video, and let's get into some wonderful reading. Okay, so last night after I finished work, I basically spent the majority of the evening making a mug, which was so much fun, and also watching Grey's Anatomy, which has been taking up a large portion of my time for the last few weeks, and I'm just absolutely loving it. But I did make a little start on Where the Crawdads Sing. I made it through couple of chapters and it's already taken me slightly by surprise. So the very first chapter is told almost in like verse or song format, and that basically talks about the swamps and the marshland and kind of like brings them to life as a character in and of their own right, rather than just as a location. And it also introduces us to the concept of a body being found in 1969. But then straight after that, it goes back to the early 1950s, I think 1952, to our main character Kaya and her very big family living in this marshland. So already I wasn't expecting that, because I thought it all took place around this mystery and this body being found. But I think it's going to be really interesting to have a bit more backstory about Kaya and her background and everything, and of course I'm sure that's going to lead into the mystery of the body, but right now I don't know how those things are going to be connected, but I'm very interested to find out. Now, as you might be able to tell from my outfit, I'm just about to head to work for the day. Now, generally speaking, I've been working from home since lockdown, but today I'm actually driving over from York to Manchester for some meetings, which means that I'm going to be driving for like an hour and a half to 2 hours to get there, and then the same to come back later on today. And unfortunately, Scribd doesn't have the Where the Crawdads Sing audiobook, and Audible does, but I'm out of Audible credits, so unfortunately I can't actually listen to the audiobook on my drive. But I did want to listen to an audiobook just to keep me entertained for such a long journey, and so I've ended up downloading The Unhoneymooners by Christina Lauren, which is a romance that I think is about a best man and a bridesmaid from a wedding who hate each other. Everyone else from this wedding ends up getting like food poisoning, but they don't, funnily enough, and then the bride and groom send them on the honeymoon so that it doesn't go to waste, and they end up spending this honeymoon together, and I'm sure romance ensues. But I've heard great things about it. It's not new by any means, but it sounds like it's going to be a fun one, and hopefully will keep me entertained for my drive. So I'm going to be listening to that today, going to Manchester, and I'll catch up with you this evening when I'm sure I'll be completely dead on my feet after a day of driving and meetings. since I last spoke to you on Wednesday morning before driving to Manchester, I have been very busy with work. That was a full-on day, really fun, and it was nice to have in-person work meetings for the first time in a long time, because obviously people have been working from home and on furlough, so that was really nice. And then yesterday was another very busy day, so it is now Friday and I have just finished work for the week, got straight into my pyjamas and made myself a cup of tea, and I'm ready to have a weekend filled with relaxation and, crucially, lots and lots of reading. So with that in mind, I do have some reading updates to share with you, although because I've been very busy with work, I haven't done as much reading as I would have liked to, but have a whole weekend ahead of me, so we can change that very quickly. So let's start with what this reading vlog has been all about, and that is Where the Crawdads Sing. Now this is the one that I have the least to update you on because I'm currently on page 22, so I think I've read about one chapter since I last spoke to you, and that actually was the chapter that kind of rectified my view of what the book was going to be about, because I think maybe the way I've heard other people talking about this book, or just my own perception from reading the blurb, I kind of thought that Kaya, the main character, was going to be quite isolated and lonely in this a very marshy setting, and then at the beginning it turns out that she's from a very big family, but that family kind of dissipates very quickly at the beginning of this book, and it then has kind of realigned with my perception of what I thought the book was going to be like in terms of Kaya's life and just her experiences and everything. So there's still so much left to come, and what has happened at the beginning has mostly been set, as I mentioned, in the early 1950s, but the chapter that I'm at right now that I haven't started yet but I'm about to is called Chase, and each of the chapters tell you the year that they're set in. This one says Chase 1969, so I think it's going to sort of alternate between Kaya's childhood and then the present day where the body has been found, and I absolutely love books that either have multiple perspectives or multiple timelines, or even better, both, and I think this book is going to do that, so I'm very excited to finally dive into reading more of this one this evening. But I do have a slightly bigger update for the unhoneymooners, because on my drive to and from Manchester and also at the gym over the last couple of days, I've been listening to this book, and I have got 5 hours left, so still a big chunk, but it was about 9 and a bit hours to begin with, so I've listened to around about 4 hours, maybe about half of the book, and I'm really enjoying it. It's exactly what I was hoping for, which was just a fun romance. It's like a haters to lovers romance, and it's very tropey, you know exactly what's going to happen, but I feel like that's the case with most romances, but it still doesn't mean that they're not fun to read about, and I just think that they are really nice to kind of lose yourself in a world that isn't at all realistic, you know, in terms of the way that the romance is set up, but still just really fun and nice to read about. So as I mentioned, we have a main character, Olive, who is the sister and maid of honour of this woman who's getting married, and this woman, Olive's sister, is really big into competitions, so she manages to have this wedding that's basically almost completely not paid for, and one of the things that they get at the wedding is a big seafood buffet, and 2 people at this wedding don't eat from the buffet: Olive, because she's allergic to seafood, and then the groom's brother, Ethan, who is fussy about buffets because he doesn't think that they're very hygienic, and he turns out to be very correct, because they then end up getting a whole load of people with food poisoning at the wedding, and Ethan and Olive, who despise each other, go on this honeymoon together. So the thing that I think is very tropey about this book is I just don't buy that they don't like each other. They're set up as hating each other, but there's no good reason for them to not like each other, and they kind of have a bit of banter, so I feel like I don't buy the haters bit that much, but I am enjoying seeing their blossoming romance. So with that in mind, although I'm very excited to do some reading of Where the Crawdads Sing this evening and actually get on with some proper physical reading, I actually want to start off my evening by doing a little bit of pottery. I did some earlier in the week as well. I made this mug, which I started off this vlog by talking about how I love moons, and it inspired me to make this mug with different phases of the moon on it, and then a little bit of text on the inside that says "to the moon," and I absolutely am obsessed. It's not the neatest mug, it's my first ever hand-built mug, but I'm very, very happy with it. So I made that earlier this week, and I want to make a couple of other mugs as well. So I thought that I might do some listening of my audiobook whilst doing a little bit of pottery, and then later on this evening do some physical reading as well. So that's my evening plans, a crazy Friday night of pottery and books and a cup of tea. So cheers.
Hey darling, can I tell you what's been on my mind? Sick and tired of the 9 to 5 in the city life. Hey darling, we could get out of town, see the beautiful world around, wanna see it now. Pack our bags and get in that car, leave a little note and we'll drive real far. Let's get out, we can leave this city. Let's drive to the open air. Yeah, the countryside is so pretty, with the wind blowing in your hair. We can look back someday, baby, don't you understand that we only get one life? I wanna make it count, honey, come on now and take my hand. Hey darling, I love it when it's me and you, on the road with a couple of tunes in a car for two. Hey darling, you know we're gonna have a really good time, driving in the middle of the night when the stars are bright. Pack our bags and get in that car, leave a little note and we'll drive real far. Let's get out, we can leave this city. Let's drive to the open air. Yeah, the countryside is so pretty, with the wind blowing in your hair. We can look back someday.
Goodness me, it is Saturday morning and I have got a hectic schedule ahead of me. Just got back from a gym session with Jay this morning. I'm about to head out to my first in-person yoga class since they reopened studios in the middle of May, which I'm so excited about because I haven't been to a yoga class in just the longest time, it feels like. I'm then going to see my grandma, my brother and my dad. I'm going out for coffee later on with my stepdad and my sister, and then I'm also meeting Em for coffee this afternoon. So I've got lots on, very, very busy. So I'm going to listen to the audiobook of The Unhoneymooners in the car when I'm driving around to all those places, and then do some more reading of Where the Crawdads Sing later on this afternoon, when I'll catch up with you with some good reading updates.
Hey, baby, don't you understand that we only get one life? I wanna make it count, honey, come on now and take my hand. Let's get out, we can leave this city. Let's drive to the open air. Yeah, the countryside is so pretty, with the wind blowing in your hair. We can look back someday, baby, don't you understand that we only get one life? I wanna make it count, honey, come on now and take my hand. Yeah, we only get one life. I wanna make it count, honey, come on now and take my hand.
Okay, it is Sunday morning and it's time for a reading update. So first things first, yesterday evening I managed to finish up listening to the audiobook of The Unhoneymooners and I loved it. It was so fun and exactly what I wanted from that book. It was lighthearted, it was predictable, but just a really enjoyable experience. Now, I stand by the fact that I don't think the enemies to lovers trope was super well done in this book, in the sense that I didn't really buy the fact that they were enemies, and I thought the reasons that they provided for them hating each other just weren't that great and didn't feel all that authentic. But aside from that, I loved the romance. I loved seeing the characters grow together and kind of go from having like a bit of a bickery, like fiery relationship to one where they really liked each other. and I did really enjoy it. But aside from the fact that the romance itself was kind of predictable and you knew exactly where it was going, there were some more surprising elements and like I guess a range of more serious themes explored, from things like identity, body image, morality, anxiety, all those kinds of things were thrown in, and those were elements of the book that were much less anticipated and definitely added an extra layer of just like complexity and just made the book a bit less surface level. But I think with romances, you know, you generally know where they're gonna go, but as long as the author manages to like weave in some elements of the characters that you don't see coming or themes that are a little bit more serious, I feel like that is what makes the book feel a lot more fleshed out and just really good. So I definitely enjoyed it. It was a really fun reading experience. Then after finishing up with The Unhoneymooners, I started to read it. Words. I started reading more of Where the Crawdads Sing, and I have definitely made some good progress on this book. I feel like I was on page maybe like 50 or something when I last spoke to you guys, somewhere around there, so I had literally just started the book, but I'm now on page 210. This book has around 350 pages, so I've still got over 100 pages left to go, but I'm way more into the story now, and the more I read of this book, the sadder I get, and that's not an emotion that I was necessarily expecting from this reading experience. I had kind of not heard a huge amount about this book aside from the fact that it was really popular, but what I kind of had heard about it was mostly surrounding the like discovery of this body in the marshes, and then the fact that Kaya, the main character, is tied up with this murder, or this death at least, and is kind of like accused and seen as someone tied to a crime by everyone in the town. So I kind of expected it to be a really mysterious book and kind of more of a like murder mystery type of situation. And whilst that certainly plays a part in this novel, actually a lot more of it is just about Kaya's existence leading up to these events, and as I've mentioned before, we go between a lot of different timelines, and so actually there's a lot of just sadness that's coming up for me about Kaya's life. You know, she ended up abandoned and alone from I think the age of like 7, which is just absolutely crazy, and you see how she is just kind of like shunned from society for no reason other than the fact that she comes from a background of poverty and doesn't look well put together, hasn't had the opportunity to go to school, and is kind of just like isolated. And so this kind of builds up this awful picture of her in society that then later on means that she is accused of this crime that she may or may not have anything to do with. I don't actually know that yet, but I just think it's so indicative of the fact that your background, especially economic background, just has such an impact on the way that people view you and respond to you. And it's just so sad to see this character who probably had a lot of potential but was just completely abandoned, and then that abandonment affects her ability to trust or open up to people. And yeah, I just feel like the overwhelming feeling from this book is just like a big sigh of sadness, because it is just so sad is the word I'm going to go with, because clearly that's how it makes me feel. But it's really interesting. There is such an incredible sense of imagery and character building of the marsh itself, which I think is incredible. And despite that fact that I'm feeling very sad reading this book because I just feel so much empathy for the main character, I'm still super intrigued to see what happens and maybe hopeful that some good will come out of it. But yeah, it's just incredible. Delia Owens has done such a good job of like creating this really rich imagery, both of Kaya as a character and of the landscape that she lives in, and I just think it's really, really incredible. So as I said, it is Sunday now, and I'm planning to finish this book today. I did a little bit of reading this morning, and I'm going to be going out this afternoon for some coffee. I was meant to go out for coffee with Em yesterday, but we ended up moving it today, so I'm going to be going out for coffee with Em. But aside from that, I don't have any plans for today aside from finishing this book, and I only have about 100 pages left to go, so I definitely think that's achievable, and I'm just really interested to see what happens, because kind of going back into my expectations of this book and thinking it was going to be mostly about the mystery, we've definitely had a lot more of Kaya's backstory than we have of the present day and the like body being found, and so there's still quite a lot I think left to be explored and explained and uncovered than, you know, like than I would have expected at this point in the novel. So there's still a lot to happen, but without that many pages left to go. So I think the last 100 pages are going to be very, very intense and interesting. Well, I've only gone and done it, and by that I mean I finished up reading Where the Crawdads Sing, and I finished it on the day that I actually wanted to finish this book on, which is just almost unheard of for me. And I often say you could get drunk very, very quickly if you take a shot every time I say I'm gonna finish this book today and then don't finish it, because I'm terrible at sticking to a reading schedule. But this week I've actually pulled out of the bag, go me, finished 2 books in 1 week, and this one in particular was incredible. Without a doubt, this was a 5-star read for me, and just so beautifully written. The imagery within this book is just so vivid, and it's just honestly out of this world. I cannot wait to see it turned into a movie. But going back to my thoughts on the book, towards the end I very nearly cried. The last few chapters were just such a strange mix of emotions, kind of like the sadness and injustice that was indicative of the rest of the novel and of Kaya's entire life experience, but then just little sprinkles and glimmers of hope that just kind of feel incredible, but also tinged with sadness, because some of the things in this book that give you hope and that bring Kaya happiness are some of the basic human necessities that most people take for granted. It's like simple kindness and human connection. And so when you get to a point in this book where she has those things and you feel glad about it because you're like, thank God someone's being nice to her, but then you take a moment to reflect and think, oh my God, those are things that we should all be taking for granted, then you're kind of reminded. And so each moment of happiness and hope is also kind of weighed down by a sense of melancholy and just utter injustice, because it reminds you of how much of that kindness and just general empathy that her life was lacking. And I just think Delia Owens does such a great job of crafting this incredible image of Kaya as this strong, independent person, but then always reminding you that that strength and independence wasn't necessarily a choice, but was something that she was kind of forced into through this awful sensation of isolation that was just pushed upon her at such a young age. And of course she turned that into a better situation, but it's something that she shouldn't have had to do. So absolutely incredible. I think the movie version is going to be amazing, and obviously the main character Kaya is being played by Daisy Edgar-Jones, who played Marianne in the TV adaptation of Normal People. And although this is a very different story to Normal People, I think Daisy is going to do a really great job, because there are definite similarities between Kaya and Marianne as characters, in the sense of their kind of like isolation and sitting on the fringes of society, and also just the way that they are kind of like beaten down by people higher up in the world, and kind of just like pushed down despite having so much potential, and yet still have this incredible light and magnetism that people, when they actually get to know them, just can't resist. So I think Daisy's going to do an amazing job of bringing this character to life, and I can't wait to watch this movie. So this was an incredible book. I hope you've enjoyed hearing my thoughts on it, as well as The Unhoneymooners. Such a great week of reading. I have had the most wonderful time. Just a quick reminder though that the beautiful earrings that I'm wearing and have been wearing throughout this vlog are from Anna Louisa, who have very kindly sponsored today's video. So if you want to check them out and treat yourself to some jewellery, or treat someone else, you can click the link in the description box and use the code KiraFoster10 to get 10% off an order with Anna Louisa. So thank you so much for watching today's video, and I'll see you next time.